StayWavyTV.
Jake Paul officially announces a professional heavyweight fight with Anthony Joshua. This fight will take place on December 19th, which is on a Friday. It will be live on Netflix, and it will be at the Casillas Center in Miami, which is where the Miami Heat play. Anthony Joshua will be Gervonta Tank Davis's replacement. The only difference is, guys, is number one, Jake Paul is no longer fighting a man that's half his size in an exhibition fight. He's fighting somebody that's taller than him and bigger than him in a heavyweight professional boxing fight. So this will not be an exhibition. This fight will go on both boxers' professional boxing records. So this isn't scripted, okay? Whatever happens in this fight, you can't say it's scripted, okay? So Jake Paul also announced the press conference. The first press conference will take place this Friday, a day before the super fight between Devin the Dream Haney, aka Devin Debo Haney, versus Brian Norman Jr. This press conference will take place this Friday, November 21st. Jake Paul said, yes, it's real. Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua will go head-to-head in a professional heavyweight fight live only on Netflix Friday, December 19th. And as far as the press conference, he said this Friday, I'ma square him up, okay? Ariel Helwani will be hosting this press conference, which I think is dope. I'm a huge fan of Ariel Helwani's YouTube podcast. I think he does a great job interviewing boxers and UFC fighters, you know what I'm saying? He's also done a great job of bridging the gap between boxing and the UFC, you know what I'm saying? Because he talks about both sports. So shout out to Ariel Helwani, you know, hosting a press conference for this first fight between Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua. Now, before I get into my predictions, right? First of all, we have to give much credit and respect to Jake Paul, okay? This is Jake Paul's first official test in his boxing career. We've seen Jake Paul get in there and knock out a former NBA player, Nate Robinson, right? Who is not even 6 feet tall. I think Nate Robinson is like 5'7", 5'8", short, you know what I'm saying? We've seen Jake Paul get in there with former UFC fighters. He got in there with Nate Diaz. But this is the first, like, elite boxer that Jake Paul is sharing the ring with. And it's not just a boxer, it's a heavyweight boxer that's a former champion, former #1 heavyweight boxer in the world, right? Former gold Olympic medalist in Anthony Joshua. Okay, Anthony Joshua in 2011 he won the super heavyweight silver medal, and in 2012 he won the gold medal, okay, in the 2012 Olympics, right? Anthony Joshua, you know, he got his first title when he successfully defeated one of the Klitschko brothers. It was Vladimir Klitschko. He beat Joseph Parker. He beat Alexander Povetkin. Anthony Joshua suffered his first loss against Andy Ruiz Jr. Then he came back and redeemed himself with a unanimous decision win. You know what I'm saying? He has 2 losses to Oleksandr Usyk. He almost won the second fight. The second fight, he only lost by a split decision, okay? Anthony Joshua knocked out former UFC heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou in the second round of the fight. And his most recent fight, he lost to Danny Dubois, okay? So we have to give respect. Listen, whether you like Jake Paul or not, just the fact that he's taking this fight and he's giving the fans what they want, because he's heard what the fans have said, right? He's heard the fans for years saying that he's not a real boxer, saying that he's a YouTuber, saying that he's cherry picking, right? The only loss that Jake Paul has is against Tommy Fury, who was the half-brother of Tyson Fury, okay? That's the only loss he has, right? So Jake Paul is tired of people saying that he's not fighting real fights. And let's be honest, this fight that he was supposed to have in November, it was last week, Friday, the fight was supposed to take place against Gervonta Tank Davis. That was a WWE fight. Let's just call it what it is. That was not a real fight. It was an exhibition. I don't think either guy was going to get knocked out. I think it was going to be a boring, rigged fight. But this fight with Anthony Joshua, bro, this is a sanctioned professional boxing fight at the heavyweight division. This is a real fight, guys, so you guys cannot say that this fight is rigged. And the fact that Jake Paul is actually taking a fight with Anthony Joshua, win, lose, or draw, we got to give much respect to Jake Paul because he is finally giving the boxing fans what they want, okay? Now, anybody that's a hardcore boxing fan, you already know what's going to happen in this fight. Anthony Joshua is guaranteed to win this fight by knockout. I'm picking Anthony Joshua to knock out Jake Paul in the first round. The only chance that Jake Paul has of getting past the first round is if he runs for his life if he hugs for his life, that's the only chance he has. I'm not giving Jake Paul any chance of beating Anthony Joshua or knocking out Anthony Joshua. I don't think it's possible, okay? Anthony Joshua is an elite heavyweight boxer. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say that Joshua's chinny. Yeah, but look at who he's chinny against, okay? When you look at Anthony Joshua, his only losses are to Daniel Dubois, who's an elite heavyweight boxer, right? Alexander Usyk, number one or number 2 pound for pound boxer in the world right now, and Andy Ruiz, who he redeemed himself against, right? Obviously, that was Anthony Joshua's first fight in the United States. He got knocked out in the 7th round, and he came back the same year and beat Andy Ruiz by unanimous decision, okay? So all 3 of those guys that Anthony Joshua lost to, I think that Jake Paul would lose to. I think that Andy Ruiz would knock out Jake Paul. I think Alexander Usyk would knock out Jake Paul. And I damn sure think Daniel Dubois would knock out Jake Paul. All 3 of those guys are elite heavyweight boxers. Well, Andy Ruiz isn't elite anymore, but he's a former champion, right? And all of those guys are knockout artists, okay? They're all knockout artists. Now, when you look at Francis Ngannou, right? Francis Ngannou had a very successful fight against Tyson Fury, who's the former lineal heavyweight champion, right? He dropped Tyson Fury, and many people like myself think that Francis Ngannou actually beat Tyson Fury by decision, okay? What happened when Francis Ngannou, who's arguably the hardest heavyweight puncher in UFC history, right? What happened when he stepped in there with Anthony Joshua? He got his ass knocked out in the 2nd round, okay? And the only reason he lasted 2 rounds is because Francis Ngannou hits very hard, okay? He hits very hard. He's a big dude. He's just as tall as Anthony Joshua. Jake Paul is barely 6 feet tall, okay? Jake Paul usually fights at cruiserweight. I think this would be Jake Paul's first fight at heavyweight. And Jake Paul is not punching like that, okay? Jake Paul doesn't have the experience that Anthony Joshua has. Anthony Joshua won a gold medal. He won a gold medal in the Olympics in boxing. In 2011, he won the super heavyweight silver medal. And in 2012 at Great Britain, he won the gold medal at the 2012 Olympics, okay? So, like, let's not compare Anthony Joshua to Jake Paul like they're on the same level. If you actually think that Jake Paul has a chance of winning this fight, you're delusional. Now, I will say this. To the casual boxing fans that only watch boxing because of Jake Paul, I totally get why you would think that Jake Paul will win. Because when you look at the majority of his fights, which were cherry-picked, right? You should, if you don't know who Anthony Joshua is, if you're not a hardcore boxing fan, then you should think that Jake Paul has a chance of winning this fight. But he actually had a chance of beating Gervonta Tank Davis because of the size difference, okay? Jake Paul usually comes in fights over 200 pounds. He's 6 feet tall. Gervonta Davis is like 5'6". He fights at 135, right? Short guy, small guy, does have power, is a knockout artist, but you know, just because you're a knockout artist at 135 doesn't mean that power would translate and you're gonna knock out a guy that's a cruiserweight / heavyweight. You understand what I'm saying? Plus, that was an exhibition fight. This is a professional boxing fight, which means that it's not rigged. Anthony Joshua is not going to take any rounds off. Anthony Joshua is not going to sign some contract and say that he agrees to not knock out Jake Paul. That's just not going to happen, okay? Anthony Joshua is going to flatline Jake Paul 100%. I'm actually going to bet money that Anthony Joshua is going to stop Jake Paul in the 1st round, right? I think that's the smartest bet for any boxing fan out there, any hardcore boxing fan out there. If you're a smart man, you're gonna bet that Jake Paul is gonna stop. You're gonna bet that Anthony Joshua is gonna stop Jake Paul in the 1st round. Okay, this is easy money. And listen, it's just common sense, bro. It's levels to this shit. You guys are gonna see, to the casual boxing fans, to the Jake Paul fans out there, you are going to see in this fight that there is levels to this shit. Okay. And like I said, we got to give credit to Jake Paul for having balls to take this fight, but it's levels to this shit, bro. And Jake Paul is not even close to being on the same level as an Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua is a future Hall of Famer. He's a former #1 boxer in the heavyweight division. He's a former undisputed champion in the heavyweight division. and we got to give him credit and respect when it's due. You dig what I'm saying? Shout out to Jake Paul for having the balls to even take a fight like this, man. And as of right now, I'm gonna be honest with y'all, man. I'm actually a fan of Jake Paul as a boxer because I can tell that he's actually taking the sport of boxing serious, bro. He's not just playing around anymore. He's gotten his experience, you know what I'm saying? And let's be honest, man. Many people thought Jake Paul was gonna lose to Mike Tyson. I knew that Jake Paul was gonna beat Mike Tyson due to Mike Tyson having health problems. Before the fight was originally supposed to take place, Mike Tyson actually had an ulcer flare on the airplane, and the airplane had to make an emergency landing. You feel me? Plus, Mike Tyson smokes weed. He talks about taking the toll, which is ayahuasca. So I already knew that there was no chance that Mike Tyson was going to win that fight. From the moment that Mike Tyson walked out to the ring and you seen Mike Tyson almost trip, you seen him limping, one of his knees were messed up. Like, you should have known then that there was no chance Mike Tyson was winning that fight. The man was crying in his corner after each round because he couldn't take the pain. It hurt me to see that, right? It hurt me to see that version of Mike Tyson. But at the end of the day, when you prioritize money over your health, that's what happens, right? Now, we also got to give credit to Jake Paul's most recent opponent, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Now, we know Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. is, you know, kind of a drug addict, right? He's not an elite boxer. He doesn't take boxing serious. But at the end of the day, Jake Paul had a very good performance against Julio Cesar Chavez. He outlanded him for a majority of the fight, did a great job moving around the ring. He was hugging when he needed the hug. And Julio Cesar Chavez, he didn't decide to take the fight serious until the 9th and 10th round. I gave Julio Cesar Chavez the 9th and 10th round against Jake Paul. If he would have turned it on a lot earlier, he actually could have won that fight, okay? So, listen, man. Out of all 13 of Jake Paul's fights in boxing, Anthony Joshua is going to be his first big test. And I think that Jake Paul is going to realize that you can play the Xbox, you can play the PS4, PS5, right? But you can't play boxing, bro. You cannot play boxing, bro. Boxing ain't nothing to play with. And Anthony Joshua is going to show Jake Paul that it's levels to this shit. It's simple, man. So, like I said, the press conference takes place this Friday, November 21st. I look forward to that. And the official fight, the official professional heavyweight boxing fight between Jake Paul and Anthony Joshua will take place on a Friday, December 19th, live on Netflix. Let me know you guys' prediction in the comment section. It's your boy Wavy, StayWavyTV. Make sure y'all subscribe, thumbs up the video, share the video. Give me y'all predictions. Thank y'all for watching. I'm out.
Yeah, welcome to the vibe. Stay wavy in the mix, got the culture on the rise. Tap in, hit subscribe, ring that bell, let it ride. We gon' surf through the trends, give you game every time. Reviews, new views, keep it honest, never fake. If you're looking for the wave, this is the channel you embrace. Stay